Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Post Cologne. Today I'm going to give you 10 Middle Eastern fragrances for the spring that I think you should know about. So let's jump into it. All right, so today we are talking springtime fragrances from Middle Eastern houses. I cannot wait for the springtime. I am just over the Canadian cold and the snow. I'm really looking forward to getting some spring fragrances into my rotation on a more regular basis. So I got 10 of them for you today, a bunch of different houses, Swiss Arabian, Lattafa, MAISON, ALHAMBRA, Armaf, whole wide array of fragrances for you guys. I'm gonna have links down in the description if you decide you wanna check any of these out, along with some coupon codes to save yourself a few bucks off of a few discounters. So I got 10 of them. I'm gonna burn through these fairly quick, not make this a super long video. So let's quit screwing around and let's get into it. All right, first up, we're going to the house of Lattafa, and it's Lattafa's El Noble Saphir. And you can pick this bad boy up for $19 at discounters. And this is just an absolutely perfect spring style of fragrance. It's got citrus, it's got this herbal notes to it, some green that works in there, so a little bit of bitter artemisia mixing with some citrus notes. This really nice mint that comes through, giving it kind of a cooling, fresh, spicy sort of nature. And this really nice ginger that works its way through, giving it, again, a kind of a bit of a fresh spiciness, but it also gives us a little bit of sweetness that kind of works in and mixing with those other green notes, those herbal notes. And it has this kind of like candy ginger candy sort of vibe going on to it. Very fresh, very invigorating, very clean style of fragrance, but it has that kind of greenness to it that just sings of the springtime. A bit of a unique kind of twist on a barbershop style of fragrance. It's got more of kind of a cooling, refreshing, touch of sweet style of barbershop fragrance, but it's gonna leave you feeling clean, refreshed, invigorating. Absolutely a gorgeous scent profile on this. Performance on this is about average, a little bit below average, maybe about 5 hours off skin, and projection is moderate for the first hour, hour and a half. For $19, I think this is a steal of a deal, and it's just absolutely perfect for the springtime, worth checking out, and it's got a pretty cool bottle, in my opinion. People might disagree, but check it out, Lattafa's El Noble Saphir. All right, up next, we're moving to the house of Paris Corner, and it's Paris Corner's Killer Oud Ethic. You can scoop this bad boy up for $26, and this is supposed to be kind of a clone twist inspired by of Homage Epic Man. Really nice, kind of green, fresh, spicy, clean, barbershoppy style of fragrance. It opens up with some really nice kind of light spices that are in there, along with some nice green, kind of camphorous style of notes. So it really has this kind of gentlemanly, classy, dapper style of centicord that's in there. Those green notes, that kind of fresh spiciness that's in there. In the base, you get some nice woods. There's a little bit of kind of spicy cedar that sits in there, giving it a little bit of a masculine foundation, but the rest of it has this kind of nice, clean, bright, almost soapy sort of feel, and like a clean luxury bar of soap kind of vibe going on to it. The spices in this are very uplifting. They're very light, they're very airy, and mixing with those green notes, it just makes this an absolutely perfect, clean, refreshing green style of barbershop fragrance for the springtime. Performance on this, about 5-6 hours off my skin. Projection is moderate for the first hour and a half. Absolutely beautiful centicord on this. If you like that kind of slightly soapy, but with like a fresh spiciness, a little bit of green kind of herbal notes going into it, with that clean barbershop style of vibe going, this is gonna be the one you wanna check out. For $26, I think this was a great pickup for me. That's Paris Corner's Killer Oud Ethic. All right, up next, we're moving to the house of MAISON ALHAMBRA, and it's MAISON ALHAMBRA's KISMET Moscow. You can scoop this bad boy up for $23 at Perfumes Online. And this is a recent pickup for me. I've already done a full review on this one, and this is growing on me faster and faster. I really enjoy the centicord on this. It's said to be a clone or inspired by Kilian's Vodka on the Rocks, and this is just a beautiful spring style of fragrance. Opens with a really nice combination of coriander and aldehydes. So this coriander adds this fresh, spicy kick to it. The aldehydes give it this nice, clean, bright, almost kind of sharp soapiness to it. The coriander also adds just like a little kiss of citrus in there as well. In the mid, there's some rhubarb, some lily of the valley, some pink rose. This rhubarb and lily of the valley add this kind of green accord to it, giving it a very kind of like earthy, fresh, clean sort of feel, kind of complementing those aldehydes. The lily of the valley adds this kind of nice watery feel to it as well. So it's got this kind of like fresh, crisp, like spring water sort of feel. The pink rose adds just a little bit of florals around the edges, giving it kind of kiss of softness, kind of balancing it off against that crispness, that cleanness that's going on. And in the base, you get a little bit of woods coming through, some ambroxan, just to give it a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of kind of a push. Just a beautiful, beautiful centicord. It's got a bit of a mineral note in there, so it has this kind of touch of this little ting, a little bit of sharpness, just adding to that kind of crisp, clean, soapy sort of vibe going on to it. A little bit of fresh spicy, a little bit of green, some florals around the edges. Beautiful, clean style of Scentaccord to this. A little bit unique. This is not going to be for everybody. This is more on kind of like a masculine, gentlemanly, perhaps a little bit mature style of fragrance, but I absolutely love the Scentaccords. If you're into that kind of like soapy, touch of floral, a little bit of woods, kind of green style of fragrance, you're really going to enjoy this one. I think for $23, this is a great pickup. Performance on this is average. I get about 5-6 hours off my skin, and projection for the first hour and a half is pretty good before it does settle back in. Great pickup, really enjoy this one. This is a good flanker to the original KISMET for men. I think it did it justice. $23, worth checking out. That's MAISON Alhambra's KISMET Moscow. All right, up next, going back to the house of Lattafa. This Lattafa's RAGHBA for man. I can scoop this sucker up for $22 at discounters, and this is yet another clone of Creed's Green Irish Tweed, and it's a really, really good one. It has that kind of fresh, clean laundry sort of feel, that grassy greenness that works in there, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of citrus, and those beautiful, clean aromatics that come through. Opens up with some top notes of violet, pineapple, bergamot. Really nice kind of clean lavender, some geranium that works in there. Just a beautiful, aromatic, sweet, fresh sort of vibe going on to it. In the base, you get some vanilla, some tonka, some sandalwood that mixes in there, adding a little bit of additional sweetness, giving kind of a creamy sort of like wood base to it. But the real star of the show is that kind of clean aromatics that come through. Just the perfect level of sweetness to it. And it's a very smooth spring, fresh laundry sort of vibe going on to it. Absolutely gorgeous. There's a few Green Irish Tweed clones out there. This one is one of my favorites, to be quite honest. It just has a real nice kind of smoothness to it. It's not overly sweet. It just balances off that grassy feel, that fresh laundry feel, with just enough kind of sweetness and a little bit of woods in the base to just give this just a perfectly well-rounded Scentaccord to it. Performance on this is pretty good. I get about 7 hours off my skin, and projection is moderate to good for the first hour and a half. Great, great pickup if you're into that Green Irish Tweed sort of scent profile, or if you just want to smell like fresh, clean laundry on a spring day. This is going to get you there, and for 22 bucks, I think it's worth it. That's Lattafa's RAGHBA for man. All right, up next, we're going to the house of Armaf, and it's Armaf's Club de Nuit Iconic. Now, at the time of recording this video, you could scoop this bad boy up for $50 to $52 at Perfumes Online and Fragrance Buy when they are available. This has been kind of hyped up lately as part of the new Club de Nuit releases from the House of Armaf. Untold is the one that gets a lot of play, a lot of attention, and even from me, I liked the Untold a lot when it first came out, but the more I wear this one, the more this has kind of taken the lead in terms of my favorites from the Club de Nuit. Really nice Bleu de Chanel style of twist to it. Got a really nice, bright, fresh, clean, sort of citrus, minty, fresh, spicy sweetness sort of opening. Really got that kind of fresh out the shower jelly sort of vibe going on to it. In the dry down, it gets some nice kind of some woods that work through, a very masculine, very mature style of woods, a little bit of incense that kind of wisps through it, but it still maintains that kind of nice, bright, fresh shower jelly sort of sweetness to it. A little bit of ginger in there, giving this a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of extra pizzazz to it. Really, really nice, mass appealing, crowd pleasing style of fragrance. Compliment monster. I don't get a whole lot of compliments in terms of wearing fragrances where I'm from. People are kind of keep to themselves, but every time I wear this one, I'm getting compliments. Strangers, friends, family, everyone comments on just how clean, fresh, and just amazing I smell when I'm wearing this one. Performance on this is fantastic. Beast mode performer for me, 8-10 hours off my skin. Projection for the first 2 hours is beyond an arm's length before it does settle back in. Great performance, great Scentaccord, a very smooth, well-balanced style of fragrance, and for $50, this was definitely a great pickup for me in my collection. Absolutely love it. That's Armaf's Club de Nuit Iconic. All right, up next, we're going back to the house of Lattafa, and it's Lattafa Pride's SHUYUKH Silver. I can scoop this bad boy up for $35 at discounters, and this is just a great pineapple style of fragrance. It's got this beautiful spiced pineapple that happens with it. Some nice woods in the base, and it's just an absolutely gorgeous, playful, easy to wear, very mass appealing, sweet style of fragrance. The pineapple in this has got that fresh, juicy, fresh cut style of pineapple. and this black pepper that kind of fuses into it, it just gives it this nice kind of spiced pineapple sort of vibe going on to it. There is some vanilla in the base that works through that's very kind of creamy, almost kind of soft floral style of vanilla, kind of drizzled over that kind of citrusy, spicy style of pineapple. And it does have some nice amber, some dry amber, and some cedar in the base. Very light woods, but it just gives it kind of a masculine foundation, somewhere for that kind of desserty pineapple, vanilla sort of vibe to rest. And again, with that dash of pepper that sits on top of it. Very, very nice scent accord. This is just an absolute mass appealing, crowd pleasing style of fragrance. Right level of sweetness, a little bit of spice that works in there, and just a right level of woods to kind of balance this out and make this an absolutely beautiful, playful, fun, easy to wear fragrance that's going to be perfect for the springtime. Performance on this, I get about 7 hours off my skin, and then the first hour and a half is pretty good projection before it does settle back in. Great, great one from the Lattafa Pride line. Definitely worth checking out if you're into that kind of pineapple vibe with a little bit of vanilla sweetness and some nice woods that are worked in there. That's Lattafa Pride's SHUYUKH Silver. All right, up next, moving to the house of Swiss Arabian, and it's Swiss Arabian's MUTAMAYEZ. And you can scoop this bad boy up for $22 at discounters. And this is another sort of barbershop twist style of fragrance. It's really got kind of this luxury bar of soap sort of vibe going on to it, and some really interesting notes that go on in this. In the opening, there's a really nice kind of sweet style of orange. Atomizer on this sucks, but sweet style of orange. It's got this kind of nice earthy sharp pine note that works in there that adds this little bit of like balsamic sweetness to it. So it's got this kind of sweet accord going to it, some greenness that's coming through. In the mid, you get some nice spices. There's like a cardamom and a clove that work in there, giving it kind of a warm spiciness and a little bit of added sweetness to it. And in the base, you get this nice kind of vetiver musk, a little bit of cedar that works through, giving it that kind of real like masculine sort of vibe to it, but still kind of light woods to it, playing with that kind of piney earthiness, some of those sweet, fresh, spicy accords, a little bit of warmth that's moved into this, and it's just a great, clean, green, masculine style of luxury soap, you know, barbershop twist style of fragrance. Really, really nice. This one really grew on me really quick after I'd worn it a few times. I love that orange. I love that pine that works in, and a great mix of those spices and those woods. Definitely worth checking out. 6-7 hours of performance off my skin, so this does perform fairly well, and projection is about an hour and a half. Does push out fairly well before it does settle back in. For $22, I'm really enjoying this one, and I definitely think it's worth checking out. Great spring style of fragrance. Keep you fresh, clean, and smelling like a gentleman. That's Swiss Arabian's MUTAMAYEZ. All right, up next, we're going back to the house of Paris Corner, and it's Paris Corner's Celestial EMIR. Now you pick this bad boy up for $22 at discounters, and this is a very unique style of spring fragrance. It's got some very interesting scent accords that go on to this. It opens with kind of a nice, bright, orange mandarin style of citrus, but it also has some, like a bit of a mineral note that works in there. A little bit of violet florals as well, and it's got this kind of saffron, suede sort of vibe that kind of sits behind it. So it's a very interesting mix of different notes. It has that freshness, that brightness, that kind of clean sort of citrus vibe, but that mineral note adds like a little bit of ting, a little bit of kind of almost saltiness to it. Not aggressive, it's there, but it does sit behind a little bit. It's not a super forward mineral note, but it's definitely there, giving it that kind of sharpness and kind of accentuating some of those notes. Nice greens that kind of work in there, got a bit of a bitter green kind of playing with that citrus note, and it does have some nice woods that kind of sit in the background. But when it gets to the dry down, this turns into a very kind of woody, spicy style of fragrance. Has that kind of like, almost kind of like a burnt leather sort of vibe, like a little bit of smoke kind of running through. With those greens, with those citruses still there, kind of sitting on top, adding a little bit of freshness, a little bit of sweetness running through. But again, you got those spicy woods sitting in the base. Very, very interesting combination of notes on this. It does have that kind of fresh, clean spring sort of vibe, but it also has that kind of woody, spicy sort of spring vibe going on at the same time with that tang of sharpness. Really interesting scent profile. I quite enjoy this. This is not going to be for everyone necessarily, but I definitely think it's worth checking out if you're willing to kind of step out of your typical spring fragrance comfort zone. Performance on this, about 6-7 hours off my skin, and projection for the first hour and a half. Pretty good before it does settle back in. Very unique fragrance. It is supposed to be a clone of Ganymede, and so if you're familiar with Ganymede, you will enjoy this fragrance. So for $22, it's worth checking out. That's Paris Corner's Celestial EMIR. All right, up next, we're going back to the house of MAISON Alhambra, and it's MAISON Alhambra's Bright Peach. Now you can scoop this bad boy up for $23 at discounters, and this one smells a lot like peach. In this opening, you get this really nice kind of sweet yet sort of bitter style of peach. There is a bit of a blood orange that's mixed in there as well, so it gives it a little bit of warmth. So this peach, this blood orange come together, forming this kind of nice fruity sweetness with a kind of a bit of a warm sort of citrus vibe going on to it. The peach in this, you do get some of that kind of fleshy, sweet peach vibe going on to it, but you also get some of that kind of bitter peach that when you get to like the core of a peach, as you get closer to the stone of the fruit, that style of peach is kind of worked in there. So it's a really nice kind of mix of those sweet, bitter peach sort of accords with that kind of warm citrus working in. As this kind of opens up a bit more, you get a little bit of booziness that starts to come through. So it's like kind of a peach slice that's been kind of drizzled with some cognac, adds a little bit of maturity to it, a little bit kind of more of a masculine sort of vibe. And in the dry down, you get a little bit of vanilla that comes through, adding a little bit more kind of some like added sweetness to it. But overall, the star of the show is that peach, a little bit of that kind of bitter side of that peach, a little bit of booziness that's coming through. And it's just a really nice, fun, playful, unisex style of fragrance, but I definitely think dudes can pull this one off because of that kind of boozy accord that comes through. And there's a little bit of the woods in the base that kind of just, again, add a bit of a foundation for that really nice peach to sit on. Definitely worth checking out. 6-7 hours of performance off my skin. First hour and a half of projection is pretty good before it does settle back in. For $23, I think this is just a great clone dupe inspired by of Tom Ford's Bitter Peach. And it's absolutely worth having in your collection if you're into those kind of fruity style of fragrances. Awesome, awesome pickup. That's MAISON Alhambra's Bright Peach. All right, last, but certainly not least, going back to the house of Lattafa, and it's Lattafa's KHASHABI. Now you can pick up this gem for $21 at discounters, and this gets slept on. No one talks about this one nearly as much as they should because this is just an absolutely a gem hidden in plain sight, in my opinion. Beautiful kind of floral citrus style of opening. Got some wood sitting in the background, a little bit of earthy patchouli that's in there, but the floral citrus is very bright, uplifting, sort of refreshing style of opening to this. Has a little bit like of a nutty accord that comes through, like kind of like a peanut accord that kind of comes through as this begins to open up. But this really does transition as it gets to the dry down. It turns into a very rich, dark, woody style of fragrance. Got a little bit of kind of smokiness that kind of wisps through it. It's not like an overly smoky fragrance, but it does have kind of a wisp of smoke in there, a little kiss of leather in the base, and that floral citrus touch of sweetness just sits on top of those nice, dark, rich woods, making this just an absolutely beautiful spring style of fragrance. Performance on this is great. I get 7-8 hours off my skin, no problem. First hour and a half of projection is quite good. Definitely worth checking out if you're into those kind of like woody style of fragrances that has like a bit of a floral edge to it, a little bit of kind of citrus, a touch of sweetness. Definitely think this is worth checking out. It just has that spring vibe written all over it. And for $21, I think this is a steal of a deal. That's Lattafa's KHASHABI. All right, so there you have it. That's 10 spring fragrances from Middle Eastern houses that I think you should know about. Nice variety here for you guys. I wanted to provide something for everybody. We got some barbershop-y ones, some blue style of fragrances, some woody ones, some like kind of fresh, invigorating style of fragrances. Hopefully something in here piqued your interest, might tickle your fancy and you're thinking about picking up. But I want to hear from you guys. What are some of your favorite spring fragrances from Middle Eastern houses that I should know about and we should all know about? Comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I love your different recommendations, hidden gems, different scent profiles, different tastes. Appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.